Right. I lost that program. I have to do again. Add class program.cs. Delete all this. Delete this also. Next, create a class called demo. Then private int I, public void show int I, this dot I equal to I, console dot writeline I, this dot I. Then demo d equals to new demo, int n equals to 19, d dot show of n. Then int r equals to console dot writeline r equals to plus r. Int, take another variable called j equal to I plus this dot I, and I should write here return j. Now another approach was console dot writeline d dot show of n comment. I said this is called method cascading. Then take one variable called integer a, integer a. There is no value, so you should write here comma out a on top. Here I say integer p, but it should also be with out. And then I say k is another variable, comma k, and I say here k equal to ji plus this dot I plus j. And then I should copy that value p equal to k. Then you want to print a value, console dot writeline a equals to plus a. So the value will be given by p. Here integer b equals 11. Here I write comma ref b, go on top. Here I should write comma reference integer integer x. Then I say x equal to x plus k plus I plus this dot I plus j x equal to, and then value, you want to get b value before and after. Before call plus b, and here I should write console dot write line after calls plus b. This is one part is over, and optional parameter public void display integer x comma integer y console dot write line x equal to plus x concatenate y equals to plus y, then set y value as 200, then come back. Here I'm supposed to call d dot display 100 d dot display 10 20. So when you give 100, y value will be 200 default value, control kd, and when you give 10 and 20, 200 will be overwritten by 20. Okay, done. Till this point it will be covered. Okay, now we are going to study about one more parameter, that which you call as named parameter. Named parameter. So for that, what I do, I'll add one more method here. Here I just call public void retrieve integer integer e comma integer f. I took two parameters in retrieve method, console dot write line, and I say here e equals to plus e concatenate f equals to plus f, control K. Now call this method called retrieve. Here I should call d dot retrieve, and now rule. You don't want to send values as parameter, rather you want to provide values to parameters directly. You don't want to send the values, rather you want to provide the values for ef both variables. Direct you want to give. So to provide values directly, here we say e colon 17 f colon 27. Yes, e colon 17 f colon 77. This is what you call as named parameters. Now, one other important thing in this topic is, especially named parameters, order doesn't matter. So first I can give f and then I can give e. So it means that you give e value as 27, f value as 17. E 27, f 17. That is one speciality. Yes, 27, 70. So what is not important here for named parameters? Order is not important. Any way you give, it will match with that parameter, and so value will be stored for that parameter. And how do you provide value is parameter name followed by colon and then value. Parameter name followed by colon, and after colon you should give value. Then the value will be set to that parameter. Now, coming to another scenario of the same part, where we have provided named parameter. All rather you can say are covered here, all except one topic, that is params parameter. That is only one which is missing now. That we will be seeing probably in my next coming classes. That the topic. So as of now, what we are covered is, one, we have discussed about required parameters. then about this keyword, then we discussed about return keyword, then we discussed about output parameters, then reference parameters, then optional parameters, then named parameters. All are covered. One example with everything. Now, now we are going to study next topic, and that topic is not related to parameters. Now, depending on usage, I make use of so and so parameters. You have to recollect how that parameter is going to respond for us. Okay. Now next, we are going to learn about a topic called object as array. Next topic, object as array. Right? How do you create object as array? For example, using system class employee private int id private string emp name private double emp salary. Introduce a method public void get info, then I write console dot write enter employee id emp id equal to int dot path console dot readline. Second, console dot write enter emp name. Emp name equal to console dot readline. Then third, console dot write enter emp salary. Emp salary equals to double dot pass console dot readline. Then message public void display console dot writeline employee id equals to plus emp id emp name equals to plus emp name emp salary equals to plus emp salary. Then come down here. I write class program public static void main. Now what you have to do is, for this employee class I create object. Right, we'll try. Employee equals to new employee constructor. Event dot get info, that will get details. Event dot display, that will print details. Control F. Somewhere flower bracket. Here semicolon is missing. And yes. Now ID 1001, name Ahmed, salary 18,000. Done. But how many employees information you are giving here for input? One. Output one. Means you're giving one employee's data input and one employee's, the same employee's data as the output. Now question is, what if I need 5 students data? 5 students. So as of now, what you are supposed to do is, you have to repeat these instances. Copy 2, 3, 4, 5. Repeat. Get info. This also you should repeat. Second employee, third employee, fourth, five. Five employees. Display. This also you should repeat. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. Change your object. E2, E3, E4, E5. E2, E3, E4, E5. E2, E3, E4, E5. Yes. 5 objects. 5 objects. What to do now next? What you're supposed to do? If I run my code now I can input 5 employees data. Yes. 1 A 1000, 2 B 2000, 3 C 3000, 4 D 4000, 5 E 5000. Yes, 5 employees data has been displayed for output. All 5. But fine, 5 now it's manageable. But not necessary now. Like an organization will have only 5 employees. Imagine a situation if your organization has 50 employees, 50, 50 employees. It means now you are supposed to create 50 instances. 50 times you should call get info, 50 times you should call display. Means you are going to write around 150 lines of code in your program. As number of employees increases, number of lines of code also gets increases. Imagine if I have 100 employees to store, then 100 instances, 100 get info, 100 display. Means around 300 lines of code you're going to write. This we don't want. Then how do you do this? Fine. Delete. These many things not required. Okay. Delete. These many things not required. These many things not required. I better put my object as E enough. Not E1, E2, E3 required. One and E I'll understand as employee object. Okay. You want array. So first, before E, you should put square bracket. This is array now. And you want to have 5 employee array. Employee array. Now, 5 objects are created here. For class members, memory is not yet allocated. For members, class members, memory is not yet allocated. Then what to do? Now you have to allocate memory. For int index equal to 0, index less than e dot length, index plus plus. E of index is equals to new employee constructor. Yes, this will allocate memory for each object with the members of the class. Allocate memory for what? Members of the class. Then copy this for get info. Copy this for display. And you should write E of index dot get info. E of index dot display. Over. Control F5. Same output what you tried earlier by creating 15 lines of code. That same we compressed now. 1 A 1000, 2 B 2000, 3 C 3000, 4 4000, 5 E 5000. Yes, same output. Now remember, this code now becomes static, static, which means whether it is 5 employees or it is 500 employees. I don't change my code. Only I change this number. 500 lines of 500 employees also same number of lines of code. 5 employees also same number of lines of code. 1 employee also same number of lines of code. 2000 employees also same number of lines of code. Now you can see how arrays will support to decrease number of lines in a program. And when we studied arrays in introduction classes, it was integer array, boolean array, double array, character array, string array. Clear? Are you clear with the process, what we have done? How to create object as array, class object as array. And that
Sir,
number here. Yes.
sir, this can you second answer like in the inter ind equal to 0 colon. Can you explain that one? I'm not getting so that.
For loop it is for loop. Array starts from 0, no? Array memory starts from 0 and ends.
This what is e dot answer?
That's what ends with 4. So e dot length returns 5. Number of employees 5. If 500, number of employees 500. E dot length will return length of the array. E dot length. E dot length will return length of the array. And number of, if I put 5, it means for loop starts from 0, ends with 4, because every time it will work 0 less than 5, 1 less than 5, 2 less than 5, 3 less than 5, 4 less than 5 times. And 5 times get info will be called, 5 times display will be called. Okay. Get info is a method, Anand. Get info is a method. You see on the top here. Get info is a method. Number of times for loop works, those many times get info method is called. If for loop works for 10 times, get info will be called for 10 times.
Okay.
Okay. Chalo.
Okay. And display, it will be display the output, sir.
No, this last one.
Okay.
Display is a method that will display. You have only console.write lines in it. Display method. We have only 3 console.write lines that will display your ID,
Yes,
name,
sir.
and salary. Okay.
So,
Right. Now we'll go with next topic. And the topic is something called, I'll delete everything. Delete this also. Now we are going to talk on a topic called member class. Member, M-E-M-B-E-R, member class. What is member classes? Class created within a class. Like, for example, class A. Inside I'll write class B. So B is member class. Member class. Class within a class. Member class. Achha, what else you can, member class is technical term. What are the other names? Other names? Yeah. Also called nested class, nested class, also called container class, also called synonymous class, also called composition. But you have to remember all this. There is no alternate. Not necessary that interviewer will always ask you to explain about member class. Sometimes twist in the query, they'll ask explain about composition. Start talking about member class, nested class. Sometimes they'll straight away query is asked about nested class. Sometimes they'll ask what is container class. Okay, and interesting thing is always remember whenever you create a class within the other class within the other class, always it creates, always it creates, has a relationship, HAS hyphen A, has a relationship between classes, has a relationship between classes. Okay, and now interesting thing of this topic is, listen, as I said, has a relationship. Let's take example. Class car. Inside the car, you have stereo. How do you read this? Simple. Car has a stereo. Has a relationship. Car has a stereo. Right? Has a relationship. Or you can say class C sharp, class students, class C sharp. What information? Huh? ID, meeting ID, C sharp meeting ID. It's not Srinivas meeting ID, it's not Anand's meeting ID, it's C sharp meeting ID. Information about C sharp I'm giving. Meeting ID, timing, faculty. Do you understand? Now, students, yes, student ID, student name, student fee, student address, student contact number, student email ID. This is students information, two different things. Class has student. Another point what I said is that class department has employees. HR department, you'll have department ID, department name, department location. Employees, EMP ID, employee name, job, salary, department ID. Two different approaches. You have department information separate, employees information separate. Now I gave example, class stereo, class car. How do you read? Car has a stereo. What car? Name of the car, Hyundai, and then year in which it is launched, right? What type of fuel it uses, car information, how many seater, color, all that stuff about car. Stereo, name of the stereo. It is a stereo name called Sony stereo. How many watts and what information it has, all that information about stereo. You take any data. Intention is to make you understand what is has a relationship. That's it. Coding part is left to you. Take anything which you feel convenient. Car class may put whatever you want. Name of the car, color of the car, launched year, right? Fuel type, all. And stereo mein, stereo name. We have many stereos. One I took Sony. We have something called Pioneer. We have Samsung. We have this, that. Many are there. Number of watts, uh, 1800 watts, 1500 watts, 300 watts, 500 watts. Stereotype. Hmm. So now we don't waste time writing the code. Understand the topic. You can put your own code. I already gave 3 examples. You can refer it with your own code in it. Right? And now another important thing is, this is also important. This we study now, and we will continue this till end of the session. What is it? For example, I'll write actual hierarchy. Actual hierarchy is first you'll have namespace. Demo on C# app. Listen carefully, please. Demo on C#. Now, if I ask you how many elements are there in namespace? How many elements are there in namespace? Answer is 2. 1, 2. We'll add one more. Enum, month. Now, how many elements are there in namespace? Now. Answer is 3. Car, program, month. Questions you should understand with terminology. How many elements are there in namespace? Answer is 3. What are those elements? What are those elements? Car, program, month. What are the categories? Classes and enum. 2 classes we have, 1 enum we have. An interesting thing is I'm not counting stereo. I'm not counting stereo. Why? Because it is not a part of namespace. It is inside car. So from outside stereo, usual also when you approach to any car, if you want to touch the music system of the car, you have to enter into the car. And I'm not calling stereo as what? It is member class only. Member element also you can call, no doubt. Member element, member class. But don't call it as direct element. And now, for example, even if I don't write namespace, still your answer should be same. I don't write. Wantedly I remove. Even I remove. Now also question is same. How many elements are there? 3. I don't say names because I don't write. But even then, if you put your cursor on it, it will treat this car, program, enum, all 3 to be a part of global namespace. It will treat global namespace by default. It will treat all these 3 a part of global namespace. If you write, then they become part of your given namespace. Now interesting part of this program is this class car and this class program, both of them can be provided with two access modifiers. Which classes? Car and program. Instead of saying class name, this will be appropriate, I feel. What is appropriate? It is best to say that it is best to say that uh, elements in namespace, the best way. Instead of using specific word class, it is best. What do you say? Elements in namespace. Which elements? In this example, two classes, one enum. I removed it, but earlier it was there. Elements in namespace can be provided with can be provided with what? Can be provided with what? Two access modifiers. One public default, second is internal. Public, internal. If you don't write anything, default it is internal. But you don't try any other access modifier, any other private, protected internal, don't try. For namespace elements, if I write private, error it is, error. Yes, put your cursor, read the message. Elements defined in namespace cannot be explicitly declared as private, protected, internal, private, protected. These all are invalid per element. Then what is valid? Only two. What is valid? Only two. Either it should be public, okay, as I write, that is fine, no error, or I should write internal, even no error. If you don't write anything for the element in class, it is internal. Don't say private now. Don't say private. Only two are valid. Acha. Second part. Second. This member class is there, na? Member class. By default, it is private. Even if you write private, is not an issue. Valid. You don't have error. But don't write private for namespace element, because stereo is not part of namespace. Stereo is a part of class. So that can be member element, or I can say member class, member element, or you can call what? Member class, can be provided with all access modifiers. Most frequently asked queries in interviews. Most frequently. What is the default access modifier for element in namespace? Element in namespace. They don't say class, because element can be class, element can be enum, element can be delegate, element can be interface, element can be structure. Anything you may have. What is the default access modifier for it? Internal. What are the valid access modifiers? Only two: public, internal.
And what about member element? In our example, member class. Member element. 5. Okay. Now, in order to access that stereo class, that is member class, confirm it should be public now. Yes. First, access members of car. Car C, new car. Okay, this is instance of car class. Whatever fields, methods you write in it, you can access by C. How do you create stereo class instance? Car dot stereo s new car dot stereo constructor. Yes will access the members created in stereo class. What is the way of creating? Car dot stereo s equal to new car dot stereo constructor. And now another query. What if this stereo class I made as private so that it is restricted to work within the car? Over error it is. You see, now you can't create stereo class. Now you can't see, it's inaccessible. Stereo is inaccessible because it is private. Then what to do? Then you have another approach. Car class instance you can create, no doubt, it will work. But now you want to access whatever code you have written inside stereo, then you can do one. Inside the car class, as you created stereo class, below it you create stereo s equal to new stereo constructor. Yeah, possible. Now this is part of car class. This is also part of car class. If you make it as private, interesting point. If you make it as private, I'm saying. Then obviously you'll write some code here. Some code I'll just write for reference purpose. Void show. Here say you have one method, void x. This is part of stereo. Show is part of car. I can say like this now. Here in show, I can say s dot x. Yeah, whatever the code you write inside this x, obviously that will be available for show. So that is the reason. It is perfect if you keep this terminology in your view. Like car is car. Car has a stereo. That is one story. Car has the stereo. One story. And second story is as car is accessing stereo. Terminology you see please. Car is accessing stereo. How? I said no. Stereo class instance you have to create inside a car. Just know what I did. And then inside car class, you can access all the members available in stereo. A reverse also possible. But what is the name you give for this? Every time I can't say car class. Every time I can't. As you are saying, are you saying stereo class? You are saying member class. You are using a term called member class. Why? Because member class can be anything. depending on your subject, depending on the requirement, depending on the data what you have with you. So better you call car, which is outside stereo, you better call outer class. Car is outer class. Stereo is member class. Program is outer class. Class, normal class, anything. Because we don't have member class. In program, we don't have member class. So why to call outer class? Class, program. Entry point class, which has an entry point in it. As car was accessing stereo, stereo can access car, reverse possible. Code you take of your choice, of your own choice, code you take, come car name, year, then what do you call, car number, registration number of the car, still price of the car. Take some fields, store and access data so that you'll get some interest in doing additional part of the program. Try all the ways of accessing till you feel somewhere you got stuck up, somewhere you feel you got some new thing to learn. Bring to my notice. Stuck up also, no issue. If you have come across something new to implement, update me. I'll also explain you how the process is going on. That's it. This is the topic for what? Member class. But remember, you should have tip of the tongue these two queries.